It is hard to imagine that many years ago, when the world was new, that there was no night. It was day all the time. Sunrise, sunset, starlight and moonbeams just didn't exist. There were no night birds, no night animals, no night flowers. There was no soft night air, nor gentle night shadows. During this time, the daughter of the great sea serpent, who lived at the bottom of the ocean, married a wealthy man who lived on the land. She left her home among the watery shadows and came to live with her husband in the land of daylight. But over time, her eyes grew tired of the bright sunlight, and her beauty started to fade. Her husband watched her sadly, but he had no idea of how to help her. "If only there was not always daylight. I wish there was also night," she sighed. "It's always bright here, not like in my father's world where I could enjoy the darkness a bit." Her husband listened and was concerned. "What is this thing called night?" he asked her. "If you can tell me about it, then perhaps I can find some and bring it to you." "Night is the name we give to the dark, heavy shadows in my father's kingdom deep in the ocean. I love the sunlight here, but how I long for some darkness to rest our eyes sometimes." At once, her husband summoned his 3 most reliable servants and told them that he wished them to travel to the kingdom of his wife's father and see if they could bring back some of the night that she longed for so much. "Find some of this night that my wife misses so much, for I wish for her to be happy here on the land and not long for her father's kingdom." The servants began their trip to the watery kingdom. After a long, dangerous journey, they arrived at the serpent's home and humbly asked him if he would give them some of the shadows of night to carry back to the land. He could not bear the thought that his daughter was unhappy and quickly gave them a big bag full of darkness, but it came with a warning. "I will not have my daughter be sad, but I only ask that you don't open it until you are back with your mistress, for only she can master the spirits inside." The men agreed and started for home, carefully pulling the bag alongside them through the water. As they reached the shore, they began to hear strange noises coming from inside the bag. They didn't know it, but they were hearing the voices of all the night animals, birds, and insects. If you have ever heard the night chorus of the jungle on the bank of a river, you will understand how loud it sounded. The 3 servants had never heard anything like it, and they were very frightened and put the bag on the beach sand. "Let's run away! We can leave the bag right here on the shore," shouted the first servant. "We cannot be so cowardly. We gave our word," cried the second servant. "I think I'm going to open it and see what's inside," the third servant said. Before they could stop him, he opened it. Immediately, all the creatures of the night flew out. There were animals, birds, and insects, followed by the moon and the stars of the sky, and with them came the blanket of darkness that we know as night. The servants were more frightened than ever and ran away screaming. The daughter of the great sea serpent had been waiting anxiously on the beach for the servants to return, shading her eyes against the glare of the sun. When the servants opened the bag and let night escape, she saw it at once and called to all the creatures of the night, calming them as her father had promised she could. "At last the night is here," she cried with joy. She watched the moonbeams dance across the sky and listened to the sound of an owl in a tree, and her husband saw that she was pleased. The darkness was like a soothing blanket, and she soon closed her eyes in relief and went to sleep. When she awoke, she felt much better. She was once more the happy princess who had left her father's kingdom in the sea to come to the land, and she was ready to see the light of day again. She was so happy that to celebrate, she made 3 gifts. She looked up at the last bright star shining in the sky and exclaimed, "Bright, beautiful star, you will be known as the morning star, and you will announce the start of each day. You will be queen of the sky at this hour." To the cockerel standing in the yard, she said, "You will be the watchman. Your call will let the others know that madrugada, the early morning, is coming." Then she called all the birds about her and said to them, "Sweet birds, I want you to sing your sweetest and most musical songs at this time to announce the approach of day." As you might expect, the princess lived happily with her husband until the end of their lives, in a land that now enjoyed both day and night time. As for the 3 servants who ran shrieking into the jungle, well, that's a story for another time.